There are so many types of discrimination in the world today, some of which include discrimination against atheists, discrimination against Muslims, and discrimination against transgender. In my opinion, one of the most serious types of discrimination is those against the deaf. Being deaf is not something one can help. Most of the time, he or she is born with a hearing deficit. As a hearing society, we discriminate against those who cannot hear because they are a little different. This type of discrimination can be seen most of all in the workforce. The article, Reconsidering Sound in the City, Asserting the Right to the Deaf-Friendly City, discusses why we discriminate against the deaf. The term autism refers to discrimination against individuals based on hearing ability. This term has three phases, which are: the first is a notation that one is superior based on one's ability to hear and behave in the manner of one who hears. Second is a system of advantage based on hearing ability. And lastly, a metaphysical orientation that links human identity with speech. Images of deaf people living in the world of silence are familiar to us hearing people because the deafness they describe is something we all recognize and even fear. The concept of photocentrism explains that the speech is the most fully human form of language, and because of that, deaf people are inhuman and deafness is a problem. This concept also dictates that those who can hear and speak are preserved as more intelligent than those who use sign language. It is pretty sad to me that us as a hearing society discriminate against those who have such a disability they cannot prevent because it's like the saying goes, can't judge a book by its cover. Just because someone has a hearing disability does not mean they're not smart. Because hearing is a normal thing for most of us, deafness has come to be equated with difference. Yes, deafness can be considered a difference, but we should be more accepting of it and not discriminate against the deaf. Unlike many physical or mental disorders, problems with hearing, speech, or visual are observable even in the intentional stages of the hiring process, making it relatively easy for employers to discriminate against persons with these disorders. Sensory disabilities require different types of job accommodations than do other disabilities, and employers may preserve those accommodations to be more expensive and more disruptive to the workplace. Finally, sensory disability affect the most basic communication skills, which are important in almost every job in today's labor market. The article estimates of wages discrimination against workers with sensory disabilities with controls for job demands. It explains a study conducted to estimate the potential impact of discrimination of the wages of men and women with sensory disabilities. This study was limited to working age people 18 to 65. Over 50% of the people with disabilities in the study had a resort to form disability income from programs such as a Social Security disability insurance and supplemental security income because they could not get a job. Men and women with sensory disabilities were shown to make very less money than those without disabilities. The result of the study, the combined efforts of productivity, losses, and discrimination have a greater impact on the wages of workers with sensory disabilities, such as hearing, than physical disabilities. An example of discrimination in the workforce is described in the article, Fighting Workplace Discrimination Against the Hearing Impaired. A woman with bilateral hearing disorder applied for a job to where she was going to need to take orientation and training sessions for the job. She was going to have to She was going to have an interpreter, but the company will not pay more than $200 for her training. Another example of discrimination is in the workforce was described. In this instance, a deaf employee worked for a company for 13 years, and the company decided to change the computer program. However, the company refused to provide a sign language interpreter for training, and they fired her after 13 years. In conclusion, it is obvious that we discriminate against those that are different from the majority of us. The deaf is a group of people that get discriminated against the most, especially in the workplace. If employers will begin to implement services for those with sensory disabilities, this kind of discrimination is likely to go down because more and more people with a hearing problem will be able to find a job and to be a good employee despite their disability. Thank you.